Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you again so much for joining me here. I hope you're having a phenomenal day. Happy Friday afternoon. Nice little recovery, of course, from Bitcoin. If you missed my analysis from earlier, we were looking for a short in like the 63,000 mark, kind of in that range. So we'll just kind of throw it out there, give you a quick disclosure here. We have a short open from 63,300, close to our profit target already, which is nice. And most of that is based on just the simple fact we had a lot of liquidation at 63,400. Once that level was swept, the price turned around almost instantly. So it's pretty funny how this works out when the price action goes right to where you want it to and then reverses. Granted, it doesn't always work out this way, but for the most part, if you understand how liquidation works, or just more importantly, those specific areas, you can kind of find better entries in a lot of ways too. So that was half the reason there, because I got the question a lot of how did I find such a good entry? Well, again, my entries are never perfect. This one worked out fairly well, just again, based on liquidation and overextension. We look at the hourly here, we can see we had a pretty significant overextension. We should have pulled back at 63K, and there's that one last little greedy sweep of liquidation. You can pretty much count on greed in the market, folks. That's pretty much a common denominator here. So let's take a look at the market now and kind of see where we're at and double check a few important things while we're waiting for this to load. I just ask you hit the like button. It really doesn't hurt you at all. Helps grow the channel, gets us in front of more people so they stop getting destroyed by other moon boys, or maybe perhaps some people that don't know how to analyze the charts. Maybe I don't want to use their name, but they just only ever use Elliott Wave. You probably know who I'm talking about. Okay, what I want to talk about here though is the daily time frame. We'll go to that in a second, but mostly clarifying this liquidation here, just so you understand. 63.5, heavy amount of liquidation there, swept somewhere in the range of another 10 to 20 billion. If we look at the charts here, there was 18 billion in liquidation between 63,000 and 63.6. We wicked all the way up to 63.4, so majority of that liquidation has been swept. There's probably a small chunk left, which you can kind of see there, maybe about 4 or 5 billion between now and 63.6. So the original consideration for a short was 63.6, but didn't want to get too greedy there. And if we do take a look, we can see bigger picture, quite a lot of liquidation upwards of 64.5. So there's still potential for the price to run back up to that even 65K range. So don't get it twisted here. The price isn't just going to drop like a rock just because we hit a tentative resistance range or we swept some liquidity. We could very well see a bounce off 62. That's actually the kind of, I wouldn't say the goal, but the reason why I have a target in the 62K range is mainly because I feel like we're going to see some support there. There's a lot of gravitation towards those previous resistances turn support, and 61.8 is a key level there, a macro fib of about 0.382. Having said all that, that was a previous area of consideration for a short target, and instead we just waited, we were patient, and found a much better entry. We can see here the delta for Bitcoin is still, oh, sorry, hold on. Is this, yes, okay, correct. Good, let's go ahead and refresh this really quick just so you got the right chart here. We can see with the liquidation delta, it has shifted here, right? So this is another reason why when we take a look at the delta being higher in regards of long, so we have more people taking long positions right now, that's more of a reason for the price to turn around, okay? When you look at delta, it's important to recognize that the market makers like, okay, we're too lopsided, we're too heavy on one way, and then they instantly push the price in the other direction. So while $1 billion isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things, considering we saw 6 billion delta for shorts no less than 24 hours ago, we're in a position right now where there's too many longs and they're about to have a bad day. You can see a lot of longs right here in the 61.5 to 62K range. Quite a lot, okay? And we do take a look here, of course, this is nothing abnormal, but previously we had, 62,000 as that open interest area. Now there's a ton of interest at 62,250. So we could presume that 62,250 is the new support range, not because of open interest, but because of a lot of contributing factors and the simple fact that is somewhat of a local low. So we'll talk about that. Let's go ahead and discuss the daily time frame, work our way down. And when we look at this here, let's go ahead and just pull up a different chart. We can see we're still respecting this descending trend. And generally speaking, at this point here, this is, you could argue, a potential flag pattern, but we don't want to confirm it until, of course, we break free from it and retest it. So generally speaking, what we should see here, this would be a flag pattern. If the price breaks out and then retest this descending trend line as a support level, that's when you take it long, okay? You don't try to take a long before it breaks out. Breakout trading, honestly, folks, is very low statistical rate of success, specifically in markets that we're in right now. Highly manipulated markets, when it's not like a defined trend, just say bullish or bearish, then you're going to find a lot less success trying to take a breakout than you would, obviously, a confirmed retest of a support. So I would recommend just kind of pumping the brakes if you're trying to break out a lot of trades. You're like, oh, we're coming up to a resistance. I'm going to take a long into a resistance, or a short into a bottom. It's not really the greatest call unless there's a lot of other confirming factors. We may have those with alts now. Honestly, altcoins are holding very strong right now, and I expect altcoins in the next 24, maybe even 48 hours to do fairly well. But for right now, Bitcoin is, I wouldn't say on the struggle bus, but it hit its initial peak, and we're going to find out how much lower it could go. So let's go ahead and take a look here at let's go to the daily time frame, and just quickly recognize that we are below the 20 and the 200-day SMA. Now, as I mentioned previously, those are the more important indicators for me to be on the wrong or the right side of the tracks for. So being above those two things, once again, 63.5, that would give us full-on confirmation, I feel, or more confidence, if you will, to take a long position, feeling good about it, right? You can actually sleep at night instead of being like, oh, did I make a bad call? Like there's things in life that give you like a weird feeling, and taking a long right now just doesn't make a ton of sense, just because we're kind of overextended leading into a resistance. My whole point of this is that we have our point of controls at 63,000, our macro point of controls at 63,000. The all moving averages, at least the important ones that I trade around, are right there converging. There's a lot of confirming factors that 63K is probably going to hold as a resistance. Now, we continue to close above that level for 2 or 3, 4 days in a row. Different story. For right now, though, we cannot presume that it's all said and good. At this point, though, we are moving or trending towards closing above 50 on the RSI. That does imply sustainability in this range. We can see stochastic swinging up for the second time. MACD is trying to gain strength. GSI is on its way up. There are some contributing factors here, but it's still somewhat of a wash on the daily time frame. Okay, so again, it could literally go either way at this point. So having said that, instead of giving you two potential scenarios and saying it's going to go up to this level or possibly down to this level, kind of covering my bases, I'll tell you specifically what I feel is going to happen. Right now, at this point, I think further retracement makes sense to pull back, but there's a lot of volume to back this up too. So a lot of times you don't want to short into that. I know it seems contrary, or contradictory, we took a short at 63,300. The reason for that was a lot of different contributing factors. I already discussed the liquidation, and there was overextension leading into it on the hourly. And then obviously some other confirming factors I can discuss here shortly, but we're above the majority of the moving averages here, so this is a positive factor. Basically, those averages are hanging out between 61.5 and 62,000. And again, we looked here, what do you know? It's really, really close to this open interest area. And then also this next key area here as well, which is on a different chart. I'll show you that later. I'll send our playout chart to show that. But there is some confirming factors there. But you got to recognize too, we got a fair value gap here as low as 61.3. Well, that's not a guarantee. Majority of those get filled. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get a wick down at least to 62 or 61.5 before the next continuation up, if that's even the thing, right? So me personally, unless we close soundly above 63.5, and more importantly, this local high of about, just say 64K, I'm not convinced that this little uptrend is going to hold. Again, that's just me personally. I'm not much of a breakout trader. I don't like to trade into a resistance. So it just doesn't make a ton of sense. On top of that, we look at TD sequential. We can recognize here that we are massively overextended leading into this. We've had two overextensions with periods of consolidation. Now that we lost this previous, or this resistance at about 63K, we can see that that's reaffirming itself. But more importantly, we had that extra little greedy mark there up to 63.4, and now it's pulling back. So the point of me mentioning all this is that it's never an exact science. Just because it worked out fairly well for us to take a short right now doesn't mean you always want to do that. Okay, we didn't just short what we thought was the top. There's a lot of contributing factors. Okay, and there's a possibility this may not even work out. The price could literally continue higher from here, and it's all said and done, right? But my traders are trained to essentially adjust their stop loss to break even once they move into profit, and to effectively put yourself in a position where you have good risk tolerance and you're not over leveraging. This is a 10x leverage trade for Bitcoin, by the way, and I use small margins. And then we only 5x leverage on altcoins. So to give you perspective here, if we look at this, our more recent trade signal that we took here for Bitcoin got a good 30% as a round number there in roughly one trading day. And that was a short from 62.3 to 59.9. And then we also have the previous ICP trade and then Aptos as well. So we took our shorts. Now at this point, we're just waiting for the market to top out. Either way, I like to kind of discuss that and explain that because some people are always trying to figure out the method to my madness, if you will. Most of it's just conservative things that I'm fairly conservative with, and just ensuring that we secure profits more often. Because Again, I know there's a lot of folks that took some longs recently and got destroyed, and then they shorted too early. Just got to be patient, pump the brakes a little bit. It's okay. You'll miss a lot of opportunities waiting for confirmation, but you'll feel a lot better about the trades that you take. I don't lose any sleep at night, by the way. Anytime I take a trade, I'll leave a trade open for the overnight, no problem. Again, my trades are designed to have some longevity versus a high risk scalp that I'm sitting there watching the market for 5 to 10 hours at a time. Anyways, conversation for another day. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent there. I would like to look out for your best interest, and we get a lot of members that come over from other, unfortunately, from other influencers, I guess you could call them, and they have a tendency of telling people to buy now when it's close to the top, or that use high leverage, and that some reason people seem to think that 50x leverage with $1,000 per trade or 10,000 per trade is just the way to go. It's the wrong image and it's the wrong thing to do. Again, okay, whatever. Sorry, enough's enough there. The summary here is that I still feel we're going to see a pullback from Bitcoin if we cannot close above 63,000. That seems like that 63,000, 63.5 range is a pretty solid resistance for us. Okay, so again, until we close soundly above that area, I don't feel super good about taking a long. The damage is done already. I mean, we had our opportunity to catch her long on Bitcoin. It's done. I think taking a long right now would just be kind of foolhardy because you're taking a long into a resistance range. Okay. So anyway, I'll post our playout chart here on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord to give you perspective on my thoughts here. It does look a little something like this. Make sure that you never follow anyone else that's impersonating me. I'll never direct message you or essentially initiate or try to solicit you. Okay, just know that. All right, thanks again so much for watching. Look forward to working with you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Take care.